Hey y'all, hi! It's time for another episode of New Makeup Hot Takes. I'm just going to be going through Trend Mood, which is the Instagram account that posts about makeup news and new releases in the beauty community, and just talking about the things that seem noteworthy to me in some way. Kind of an interesting one because I have gone through and selected some things to discuss, and it seems like there's a lot of change in the industry, like brands closing, people leaving their brands moving from platform to platform, which isn't usually what I talk about, and it's not usually happening at this rate of speed, but it's happening now, so stay tuned. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. My name is Hannah. I'm really interested in the beauty community and what's new in beauty, but I have a history of overspending. When I first got into the beauty community, I got way into it. It snowballed because I didn't really have perspective. So after doing an entire no-buy year to give myself kind of a reset and then building healthier consumer habits, now when I create videos on this channel, I'm doing it through that lens. So especially when I'm looking at what's new in the beauty community, I'm not looking at it as someone who's like eager to buy new stuff, but rather as someone who's kind of looking for reasons not to buy new stuff, keeping it at arm's length. So if you enjoy this, and if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I am not going to forget to move to the side. I'm doing it right now so that Joe can insert the pictures. I think Joe is going to be editing new makeup releases for the first time ever. He's going to have to figure out which images correlate with what I'm talking about. Let's see how he does. Y'all, I am so tired right now. PSA, first of all, do watch Heartstopper on Netflix. Don't start watching Heartstopper on Netflix in the bathtub at like 10:30 at night, because then you'll be up at 3 in the morning watching the last episode like I was, because it's 8 half-hour episodes, so it adds up to 4 hours. And it is literally, physically, chemically, humanly impossible to stop in between episodes. Like, you cannot take a break and then like finish it the next night or something. You have got to watch it all the way through. You have to think of it as a 4-hour film and only start watching it when you have those 4 hours, because it was just a couple of nights ago and I'm still dealing with the consequences. I mean, one of the consequences is exhaustion, and the other consequence is that it's been kind of hard to focus on work because all I want to do is watch Heartstopper again and again. Their little faces. However, I do have a lot to say about some of these new makeup releases, and we're going in reverse chronological order. The newest first. The newest, and it's reverse chronological order, but it's just the things that I feel like talking about because there's so much on Trend Mood that I just can't even bring myself to talk about because it's and sometimes it's not worth it to bring something up just to say that it's boring. My way of dealing with that is to not bring it up. But here's something on which I will speak. So this post on Trend Mood is about 2 new products that have released. One is the Milk Makeup new primer, which I probably wouldn't have brought up in and of itself. I feel like the point of interest here is that it's $18, which I don't know. I actually feel like that's kind of affordable. I mean, there's no way of telling from this picture how big it is. I mean, from the picture, if this was to scale, it would be like this big compared to the bottles of ILIA tinted serum or whatever that is. But I don't know, if it's really small, if it's like a half an ounce, then $18 is very expensive. But maybe I've got it wrong in terms of where Milk is positioned price-wise, but I could have seen them launching a primer in a component like this and charging like $25 for it. I'm not feeling like I need to rush out and buy it or something, but since I had pulled up the slide to talk about the ILIA thing, I looked at the Milk one and I was like, oh, $18, not bad. That's my hot take, okay? But moving on to the thing that's more of interest to me. It's of interest to me because ILIA is of interest to me right now. They sent me some PR a while back, and a couple of the things that they sent me really blew me out of the water. The Limitless Lash Mascara from ILIA is really, really good. I've used it a lot. It's got like these short bristles on one side of the brush and these long bristles on the other side, and the long ones, they really go the distance, okay? They really do it for me. The multi-use pigment has actually really impressed me from ILIA. It can be used on the eyes, cheeks, and lips. I particularly like it on the cheeks. It's beautiful, and I really, really like their new release, the lip wrap lip treatment, lip balm. I've actually tried kind of a number of lip balms lately, that kind of thing, like intensive treatment lip balms, and it is by far and away the best. Definitely the one out of all of them that I would buy with my own money. And their complexion products, I've kind of been eyeing. They didn't send me any, but I've kind of been thinking maybe I should try that tinted serum thing. Maybe I should try their foundation. The shade ranges of their complexion products seem to, from the imagery, go light enough for me, and the lightest shades look pretty neutral as opposed to being like very yellow or very pink. So I've just kind of been, what do people say? Checking for that. I've been checking for ILIA, okay? I've been checking for ILIA. And so when I saw that they were releasing another complexion product, my interest in them won out even over the fact that it's a serum because, you know, I like more pigmented base products. I don't necessarily like to apply them as full coverage products, but I like having the pigment there so I can really manipulate them and do what I want. I prefer that as opposed to very lightly pigmented or lotiony or serum-y products that just sort of like dissolve away as I'm applying them. I'm like building and building and it's just creating layers of grease or something. Can't with that. So this sort of does promise to be like that. But even though I saw that it was called Serum, oh, it's a sunscreen. It's a sunscreen, not a tinted moisturizer with sun coverage. This is confusing marketing though. It's saying ILIA Beyond Triple. Is it Beyond Triple? Or is it called C, ILIA C Beyond Triple Serum SPF 40. So, okay, starting over. I thought that this was a tinted moisturizer that was also claiming to have SPF coverage. And I was going to say, even though I'm checking for ILIA, I have several problems with this. One is that the claim that it's SPF 40 in a complexion product, like in a tinted moisturizer, that's an issue because when you are applying even like a foundation that's going all over your face, no matter what kind of sun coverage is in it, the way that you apply a product like that isn't going to give you enough coverage to actually protect your face from the sun, right? You have to apply sunscreen in the way that you apply sunscreen all over the face, a lot of it, rubbing it in, letting it sink in, then other stuff on top of it in order to get the coverage that you need to protect you from the sun. So I'm always irked a little bit when brands are like, and there's SPF in it. And it's like, it's all it is making people feel like they don't have to apply sunscreen, which is an unsafe thing to do. So that was going to be my first issue. And the other issue that I was going to have and might still have is that the lightest shade is for extra light to light medium skin tones. And it just doesn't work that way, okay? When you have very, very pale skin, a shade that is supposed to be super versatile in both of those directions, like extra light to light medium, inevitably is actually darker than your skin. If you're on the extra light side, it doesn't work to use something that's versatile. It's just a little bit darker. It's like just a little bit darker. It's darker, but it's just a little bit darker. So it'll work for you for sure. For me, with very, very, very pale neck and forehead, and then sort of like red cheeks and chin, and I'm really trying to lighten and brighten that area, even just a little bit darker, a serum or a tinted moisturizer or anything, it just doesn't work. It doesn't even begin to help me out with any of the things that I'm trying to do with makeup. So I was interested in this, and then I was like, wait a second, they just have these 3 super versatile shades and that never works out for me. But now I see that what it actually is a tinted sunscreen. So it's a skincare product, and they're saying you should apply the amount that you apply sunscreen, but it's a serum? And it's so clearly marketed as like a tinted thing. There should be a third, no, there are 3. There should be a 4th option that's untinted. If there were, I would actually try it because I'm checking for ILIA and I'm always interested in new mineral sunscreen. But I can just tell you the lightest shade of this is just gonna look like dirt on my face. Let's move on. Okay, the Euphoria makeup. The makeup artist who created the massive trend of the 21st century in makeup, the Euphoria makeup trend. And I think she's brilliant. And I spoke at length about that trend and my passion for it, even though I don't usually or really ever try it. It's something I've been meaning to do. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. If you did not watch my video, Makeup Trends of which I approve, I think it's called the Makeup Trends for 2022 that I'm excited about, then go and watch it because past Hannah had a lot to say about the Euphoria makeup trend. I feel like it's worth visiting that video. I'll try to remember to link it at the end of this video, or I'll put it in the cards or something right now. I feel passionate about it because I think that let me see if I can say it really, really quickly, sort of encapsulate it. It's a very inclusive makeup trend, and it's accessible in a lot of directions. It's exciting, and I feel like it's not about covering up who you are, but adorning who you are, adorning the person that you already are. And I love that for us all. I'm into it, and I am into this makeup artist. I'm not like really fangirling, following her on Instagram. I don't even remember her name. Donnie Davy. I'm here for it. And so naturally, I am curious about this makeup. But looking at the reel, it's like, what is it giving us that we aren't already getting from other things that we might have in our collections? Even going as far back as like the Stila Glitter and Glow, which I don't have any of those right now anymore, but I did for a while. The really beautiful, sparkly liquid eyeshadows or multi-use products or whatever, they look so beautiful and exciting in this blurry imagery. But I have glitter eyeliner, I have glitter gels in pots, I have glitter eyeshadow. I just don't think that I could do anything with those that I can't already do. So it's not that it's disappointing. I'm like happy about, like I see it and I'm like, yay, this is exciting. It's exciting to see of all the things that could take root and grow. You know, it's exciting to see this trend taking root. It's exciting to see the brainchild of this makeup artist taking root and growing. And I don't even fault her. Like, this is exactly what it should be. And I don't think it's a bad release. And it's very beautiful. And if you guys are clamoring for it, maybe I'll do a self-sponsored review and try to get at the answer to the question, like, is this offering us anything that we can't already do with our colorful, sparkly makeup that we've been hoarding if we love this kind of thing already? Curiously, it's not really making me want to buy it, even though it's something in which I have a vested interest. And the other thing I wanted to say about it is that the brand is called Half Magic, which I don't know if that has something to do with Euphoria. I've never watched it, but there is a children's book set, I think, in like the British countryside about some kids who find a coin that when you rub the edge of the coin and you make a wish, the wish comes half true. So if you rub it and you're like, I wish I was at the beach, then you're transported halfway to the beach. And in order to make the coin work, you have to double your wish. So you would have to rub it and be like, I wish I was at the beach twice. I don't know how it would work with that issue. If you want a hamburger, you have to rub the coin and be like, I wish I had 2 hamburgers, and then one will appear. Has anyone else read that book? I feel like I read it like 15 times when I was a kid. It really fit the genre of the kind of books I liked to read as a kid. So when I saw that the brand was called Half Magic, I was like, I love it because it reminds me of that. I don't know if it was derivative of that at all, but it gave me a frisson of excitement. Okay, here we've come to the first mover and shaker in the industry. What do they say? The pillars of industry are rattling and some of them are falling, right? So Bite Beauty is closing its doors. And I feel like in this moment, I actually don't feel anything. I mean, you know, corporations aren't people. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm sure all the people who are involved are fine. Like, they've made their millions and they're going to go do something else with it. Bite Beauty itself as an entity isn't a person. So I don't have a strong feeling where I'm like, oh no, my friend, you know? But there was a time when I feel like not too long ago, their lipsticks were literally the best, like the most luxurious niche thing that you could buy at Sephora. And the colors were kind of industry benchmarks. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be trying on a lipstick and you'd be like, oh, this really reminds me of Bite Beauty Beetroot or Bite Beauty Chai or something like that. Everyone knew them, you know, like they were really successful in that way. They had made their way into our minds and hearts. And the formulas were fantastic. I think that what happened, I haven't really been following their career with all that much interest, but from scrolling through the comments on Trend Mood, I think that what happened was that they reformulated and re-released everything and it all just kind of flopped. And everyone's like, that's why the brand failed. I feel like they could have done it better. They could have still done that, but it seems like they had someone at the helm of that re-release, reformulation project who wasn't putting money in the right places or wasn't hiring the right people or something. But they have just faded and faded and faded from the beauty zeitgeist. This moment of them closing their doors seems like just the very last step in something that's been happening for a long time. So that probably contributed to me kind of feeling a shrug about it all. And my main reaction is just to think like, wow, how things change. That makes me think that whatever we have that urgency about today, that feeling like these lipsticks are the industry standard or these colors are our benchmarks or everybody knows XYZ, it's the most luxurious thing you can buy, it's the most exciting thing you can have. It's just all so much more fleeting than we feel that it is, right? And all you're left with, what really matters is like, do you like the lipstick that you own? Are you enjoying wearing it on your face? Because in a couple of years, the entire brand might be closing, just like Bite is today. Okay, another shifting of the tectonic plates. Teutonic? Mnemonic? Another big change in the makeup industry. Jared and Jeremy are leaving Too Faced. And Too Faced is staying alive. It's just now owned by Estee Lauder. But the post said it's been owned by Estee Lauder for a few years now. And I feel like Too Faced has been receding from the spotlight dramatically for the past several years. So if Estee Lauder has been at the helm of Too Faced and all that's happening is some kind of behind the scenes like final financial cutting of ties, then nothing's going to change. And I just can't see it going in any direction other than the Bite direction. Like I feel like that it's just gonna eventually just decline and be gone. Because we haven't heard from Jared in years, right? Or am I just not paying attention? Because after that cake, we were done. I lost my taste for Too Faced. I'm not over here canceling people. It's just I personally, inside myself, was just like, could not get it up in any way for anything Too Faced after that. And I kind of feel like the whole world has kind of felt that way too for probably a number of reasons. For me, it was very cake-oriented. My reason is very cake-oriented. I feel like they haven't done anything interesting, though. And I feel like there also hasn't been drama. And so that makes me feel like Jared isn't really doing anything anymore. What do you think is going to happen to Too Faced? Do you think there's going to be some kind of rebrand or refresh? I just feel like we haven't gotten any indication that the founders of the brand or the former owners of the brand were the ones who were keeping that from happening. I feel like Estee Lauder has kind of just been like, we've acquired this asset, let's just set it and forget it until it runs out of gas. Okay, Lady Gaga, who released her brand through Amazon originally, there were a lot of mixed reactions. I feel like the initial reaction was like, what? And then people were like, and then there was some sort of, well, maybe. And then people started sort of grudgingly trying it. Since then, here and there, I've gotten suggestions about specific products from some of you. So sometimes people reach out over DMs and they're like, you should try X. Like sometimes when I've talked about being on the hunt for like a specific color or a specific texture, they'd be like, oh, I think you'd really like X, or I think you'd really like Y from Haus Labs. And every time someone says that, I'm like, people are using Haus Labs? Like people are buying Haus Labs? I didn't really know. And now Joanne appears to have cut ties with Amazon because the post on Trend Mood says only at houselabs.com globally and Sephora. So she's like, goodbye Amazon, hello Sephora, the Selena Gomez model, right? Just her own website and Sephora, which I feel like is a much better plan for her overall. And my interest is piqued, and I think this image is beautiful. I really like this marketing image, the eyeshadow. I feel like this image actually is one of the best examples I've seen, if not the best example, of sort of a marriage between the euphoria trend and more classical or more classically like manipulate makeup to flatter your face style makeup. It's got both in spades and it's really making me feel things, you know, it's really making me want to try Haus Labs. And now that it's going to be at Sephora, there's a much greater chance that I will wade into those waters. At this stage, I don't really see myself going for broke and doing like a full brand review, but I could see myself being like, let's try one thing. Let's find out what the one thing is from Haus Labs that people really love and let's give it a try and see how it is. I mean, just the prospect of being able to touch and see the things in store and swatch them is kind of a game changer. So I actually, given how it went, I actually didn't think Haus Labs was going to take off. But I tend to think that a lot of times about celebrity brands. I feel like the market's oversaturated, and when someone is out here like, me too, I'm starting a brand too, I'm always like, good luck with that, because we're going to be over here with our Cleona stained glass eyeshadows and our Salt New York sneaky balm, just like watching you slowly fail. I guess people buy the makeup and then they keep trying again, switching from Amazon to Sephora and just living to launch makeup on another day. And that's what Lady Gaga's doing. So we'll follow her career with an eyedropper full of interest. Okay, I have just a very brief hot take about this Kellogg's Frosted Flakes X Glam Light collab. What is this product packaged in a tub with fake Frosted Flakes on it? Like this pretend cereal bowl. What is it? I mean, not what is the product, but like what is the travesty of this packaging? I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It's not even like it doesn't even look realistic, it just looks a little bit creepy. It just makes me a little bit uncomfortable about cereal. Brief mention also of the Chantecaille, what is it? All-in-one gel powder highlighter. I don't know. There's something about the gel powder or gelée powder claim that makes me want to touch and try things. And then I usually am disappointed and it's like, oh, it's just a powder. And they just are saying it's a gel powder because creamy products, things that don't look dry, that's what's trending. But I feel like I have yet to meet a gel powder that really feels like it earns that name. And I'm skeptical that this one would earn that name. I'm throwing it into this video because I like it when notoriously luxury priced brands and like fancy brands do this like acrylic neon thing. I just like it, okay? I feel like I remember years ago seeing images from a Jill Sander fashion show where the models were all holding these bags. They looked just like plastic shopping bags that you would get if you bought something at the bodega, but the shopping bags were crystal clear, fire engine red, soft plastic. It was this trick of the eye where it looked like it could be something that just like cost 5 cents, but then it was actually structurally sound and it was a bag that Jill Sander had produced and was selling. And it was very, very beautiful and aesthetically attractive. I'm not saying, oh, it looked cheap. It's just you couldn't quite tell from looking at it whether it was just part of costuming or whether it was actually like a piece of fashion that was being produced and sold. I like that because it sort of elevates the everyday in a way, because it could have just been like a plastic bag that wasn't expensive but that happened to be in a particularly beautiful color. And it indicates to me that you can make something that isn't high-end feel really special by putting it in that context or just by deciding that it's beautiful for its own sake and then carrying it. I don't know. We've gotten way off track. I just feel like there's something to me about the juxtaposition of the sort of fluorescent clear plastic with the luxury branding and the luxury product that I feel like has yet to make me buy a thing. You know what I mean? I'm not over here like buying stuff because it's like that. It's just something that I like to see. Oh, here's something that I haven't talked about. This is a brand that I might not have mentioned on my YouTube channel in literal years. Like, when do you think was the last time that I said the word Morphe on my channel? I feel like it was probably 2020. Maybe when going through my eyeshadow singles and finding one or two remaining depotted shadows from like the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. Maybe I've said the word then, but I haven't really like talked about Morphe in a really long time. And it's not like I think this is some sort of remarkable release. And you guys are probably going to laugh at me because I don't know if what I'm about to say makes sense. I just like the inspiration for this collection. It's the Gilded Desert Artistry palette and bronzers. It's just a very neutral eyeshadow palette, a whole bunch of bronzers, and highlighters, I think. Because, yeah, there are some highlighters that have kind of very, very warm, interesting shades, like the images of the desert that they're showing. I just like it because it's based in nature, right? It's evocative of the colors of nature. It's simple, but it has the excitement of like sparkle and bronzy glow and those warm, exciting, sultry colors. It looks executed in a pretty balanced way. Like there's a very, very light shade in the bottom left-hand corner of the palette and a very, very dark shade in the upper right-hand corner of the palette. And then in between, the shadows kind of run the gamut and the browns get kind of mustardy in some places. They get kind of rosy in other places. So they're dynamic instead of just being like all brown. And it looks like there's a lot of texture in the palette. Am I going to go buy it? No, because I like this kind of thing, like bronzy, sandy, deserty, but also leaning camel, leaning mustard, leaning rose. My makeup collection contains a lot of this kind of thing, and I could easily do whatever I would do with this palette using other eyeshadows. I could easily dupe the vibes onto my eyes. I just like to see it. I like to see something that's not like Coca-Cola bottle inspired or reaching. They chose a brief that they could execute that doesn't feel like some sort of weird bending over backwards bid for attention. And it's also a brief that gave way naturally to a very beautiful palette and like very beautiful makeup and some very beautiful looking bronzers and kind of interesting shades of highlighter. The palette has a matte white and a matte black. That's a good move. If you're gonna make a 35 shade eyeshadow palette, I kind of want it. I mean, I don't actually want it because I don't need this many eyeshadows to be added to my collection, but I'm looking at it and I'm feeling those feelings that make me want to dupe the vibes of something. And it makes me feel like somebody with a mature sense of quality was at the helm of this particular collection at Morphe. That's my hot take. I'm here for it. Okay, blursh, which I feel like, I mean, I know Made by Mitchell is like a YouTuber. I don't really know anything about Made by Mitchell, except I have a vague memory that this launch was a huge flop. I have a vague, not a flop, that there were some snafus. I have a vague memory that when Made by Mitchell launched, there were some things in the launch that intrigued me, but that there were all sorts of issues with like shipping and communication or something. Maybe it was blursh that intrigued me because the idea is that it's a blush highlight hybrid. And I love that. I feel like highlight and blush and bronzer are all the same thing. You just pick the one in the shade that you want and at the level of sparkle that you want, and you use it, you know? So I like the idea of a combination liquid blush highlighter. So when I saw it on Trend Moon, I was like, oh yeah, blursh, we meet again. The swatches, it's the swatches. You can just see them shining and sparkling in that exciting, blurry way. And it immediately made me click on it and zoom in and see what it was. And then I was like, it's blursh, but they look like eyeshadow. They look very pigmented and very chunky. The glitters look very chunky. It makes me want them. It makes you, like, especially the one on the top, the sort of pewter, it's like glittery pewter. And I feel like this blursh marketing is telling me that it's okay to put that color on my cheeks and that'll be fierce. I kind of like that for me. All in all, though, very confusing marketing images because they're like, if it was just that the shades were these sort of deep shades, that would not be confusing because I know that these colors for a lot of people are fantastic blush and highlight colors. It's the fact that the glitters look so discreet and chunky. A lot of the shades have like gray and silver, that like gray gunmetal silver reflect and undertone and shine clearly present, at least in these images. And maybe the images are like oversaturated or more contrasty than they look in real life, or they're not blended out and maybe they blend out to something that makes more sense as a blursh. I would like to say I'll be following their future career with great interest, but I just don't know how I will ever find out unless I actively make an effort to find out what these blushes look like in person, and I'm not sure I'm going to do that. Okay, lastly, so many of you have popped up in my comments asking me to review the Jones Road Foundation Balm. I think because it's a foundation tinted moisture balm that's called What the Foundation. Is that right? Is that the name of this? I think it's called What the Foundation. The Jones Road What the Foundation Tinted Moisture Balm. I am not, at this moment in time, planning to review this because look at the lightest shade, Porcelain, and then look at me. I mean, again, maybe it's the picture, but all 5 of the lightest shades, Porcelain, Fair, Light, Beige, and Medium, to my eye, at least in this imagery, they all have the same value, meaning they're all the same level of darkness. They just have slightly different undertones. So the shade called Light seems like a little bit more on the yellow side, and so does the one called Medium. The other 3 to me look very pink. Like pink as a pig, like peach pink. I mean, I just can't see it working out for me. I am hoping to, things have been so crazy lately, but I still would like to do some foundation balm reviews, especially, I know that I'm late to the game as always, but the Danessa Myricks, I still have that on my radar. If I see some other swatches of this that show me that this picture was a lie, maybe, but I don't feel very hopeful either looking at the models. The model wearing the palest shade looks like her skin is quite cool toned and just not fair. Not what shade ranges usually call fair or porcelain. She looks more like someone who would wear the shade light. But the other thing about this is that it says a tinted moisture balm meets traditional foundation. So it's also implying that it's not going to be that kind of like nourishing but very pigmented, kind of choose your own level of coverage, which is what I like. Although I have really enjoyed the other balms that I've tried. And I guess especially the Salt New York one could be called a tinted moisture balm meets traditional foundation for sure. So I don't know, maybe I would love it, but I don't think that there's is a shade for me. Oh yeah, all the comments are saying the same thing. The shades all have a very pink undertone. They look like they might not be true to color, which yeah, I agree with that. I think that there's probably an issue with the color balance in the marketing image. But again, the models though, like the models all also look like they have a warm glow, like they're photographed in the light of the setting sun. And maybe they were. I feel like I'll be following the future career of this product with a little bit more interest than some of the other things that I discussed today, but just a little bit. All in all, this round of new makeup releases was a very uncaptivating round, right? And by that, I mean, I take an interest because I'm always curious about what's going on in beauty, but my heartstrings have been left unplucked today. That was a crack iambic pentameter sentence right there. My heartstrings have been left unplucked today. Maybe I should film a new makeup releases all in iambic pentameter. Maybe that should be the next iambic pentameter video. New makeup hot takes in iambic pentameter. But for today, I'm just going to leave it there. My heartstrings have been left unplucked, and I don't know. I like them that way, except for by Heartstopper, right? Maybe that's why my heartstrings are left unplucked, because they've been plucked so vigorously over the past couple of days by Heartstopper that there is no purchase left to be gained by any of this lackluster makeup or this unsurprising news from the industry. But I hope that the video was fun to watch. I hope that you enjoyed it. Shall I come back to the middle? Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world. I'm going to leave it there. TBD. TBA, to be further explored if I do indeed get one of those in my hands. Not something I would have chosen to buy.